We are the Necrotizing Fasciitis Foundation, also referred to as the NFF. Our mission is to advocate and spread awareness about necrotizing fasciitis, a rapidly spreading bacterial infection that can destroy skin, fat, and tissue-covering muscles, not to mention lives. Often referred to as the flesh-eating disease or flesh-eating bacteria. To contribute, participate, or for more information, please visit our website at www.necfasc.org.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Steep. My name is Tim Hayden, and I'll be your host. Our guest today on this episode is Chris D.T. Gordon. Chris is a faithful husband, father of 3, online middle school special education teacher, professional speaker, podcast host, co-author, runner, first-degree black belt in Taekwondo, and pop culture geek. He is also a survivor of necrotizing fasciitis who uses his story and message to inspire high school students and other young adults to adopt the attitude of gratitude, TAG for short, to overcome their personal bacteria, increase their positivity and gratitude, and make the world around them a better place. Let's add Chris to the show. Hi, Chris. Welcome.
Hey, Tim. Thanks for having me on. I greatly appreciate it, and I love chatting with you.
I enjoy talking with you as well. How's everything going? How's the family and everything?
You know, it's very busy. We're all involved in the public school system. My kids obviously go to school. My wife is a public school teacher here in New Ulm, Minnesota, and I teach online. I'm a middle school special education teacher for a school called Minnesota Virtual Academy, and I've been teaching there for 10 years. And it's the middle of May. We're starting to wrap up the school year, but we're also in the middle of various events. And I should have changed that intro a bit to also add a teenage boys soccer coach, because I was asked very strongly, let's put it that way, to be my son's soccer coach. And so that's something I'm also juggling as well.
You're a busy, busy man.
Yes. Time management is a tool that I use a lot. It's something I sometimes struggle with because the various endeavors bleed into each other once in a while, but I'm keeping all the balls in the air more or less.
Well, Chris, you want to tell us a little bit about your story, your experience with necrotizing fasciitis?
Certainly, Tim. Thanks for asking. So before March 18th, 2015, I was an average, seemingly ordinary husband and father of 3. One time at a speaking engagement, I said father and husband of 3. I had to quickly change myself because I don't think the laws have changed since then. To make sure I said correctly, husband and father of 3. And things were going well. On that day, though, everything changed. March 18th is where things shifted for me forever. I was helping Becky get the kids ready for school at the time. Josh, our oldest, was in kindergarten, and the twins, Seth and Anna, were in preschool. So I was helping load kids into the van. Well, I picked up Seth, who was at the time 2, flying him back and forth to our detached garage because I like to keep things fun. So I flew him back and forth. Unfortunately, I veered too far to the right and scraped the back of my right hand on our exterior garage wall. I looked at it, and to quote one of my favorite movies, "'Tis but a scratch." It wasn't bleeding, so I figured, all right, everything's good. I put him back. I put him into the car seat. I kissed them all goodbye. And as they went on their way, I went on my way back into the house to clean my hand off and to start my day of online teaching. 3 days later, I wake up to find a lacrosse ball-sized bump on my right elbow. I go to the doctor. The doctor looks at it and says, well, it might be bursitis, which is an inflammation of the bursa sac in our joints. But keep an eye on it and let us know if something happens. So I go home and I keep an eye on it as the bump grows and grows and grows until my right arm is 3 times the size of my left. In comic book parlance, I was the Incredible Hulk in mid-transformation. But instead of being angry and smashy, I was more sicky and tiredy. Becky quickly finds a babysitter for the kids, and then we drive off to the emergency room. Well, she drives off. I'm holding my arm up. They quickly admit me, and as they're taking my vitals, they find not only do I have a ginormous right appendage, I have also gone septic because they couldn't get a blood pressure reading on me, and everything has gone crazy. So I had that going against me as well. They keep me overnight for observation, and in the morning, that attending doctor comes up to my hospital bed and tells me words I will never forget, Tim. She said, "Mr. Gordon, this is beyond us. We can do nothing more for you here. Where do you want to go?" Well, I live in south central Minnesota. Rochester is 2 hours away. So I say the Mayo Clinic. Not only because it's Mayo, it's like Madonna or Cher. You know, you just know it, or for the kids, Beyonce or Zendaya. Anyway, but it's well known. It's world renowned. Not only did I pick Mayo for that reason, but Becky's parents also live in Rochester. So I knew that Becky, the kids, and Max the dog would have a place to stay for I was sure, 2 or 3 days max. This was the take to resolve itself because, of my vast medical knowledge. So they load me up into an airplane at the municipal airport, fly me to Rochester, which took all of 20 minutes. They get me to St. Mary's Hospital, which is the flagship facility of Mayo in Rochester. And it's there that they diagnosed me with NF. As soon as they know that it's necrotizing fasciitis, they get me ready and start prep me for my first surgery. And the last thing I remember is having a very drugged chat with the surgeon who was telling me all the different things that were happening. I think he was expecting me to cry or be sad or worried. But Tim, have you ever watched the movie True Lies?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you remember the part where the Arnold Schwarzenegger character was drugged and he's tied to the chair and he lazily tells his captors how he's going to escape and kill them all?
Mm-hmm. I actually do.
That was me without the murder. I was very cocky. I was very confident. Instead of saying, "Oh no, I'm so scared," I was saying, "Let's do this. Let's go." Because in my mind, I'm at Mayo. If I'm going to die, it's not going to be due to lack of trying. So they get me going. They get me in my first surgery, and I am out for 5 days. In that 5-day time, they remove all the infected skin and tissue from the back of my right hand where that scratch happened. Again, this is all from a scratch. Up my arm, through my chest to the base of my neck, down through my chest, around my rib cage, and up my back. So they take all of that away. They debride that area. And then they see that there is a deeper area in my right arm where the infection had gone through. And they thought, well, if we can't find a way to get muscle tissue and blood pumping through his arm, pumping through his hand, we have to lose the arm. And at one point, they not only decided that that's what they're going to do, they told Becky this. So she was expecting me to come out of a surgery with one less appendage. Thankfully, though, spoiler alert, didn't happen because the occupational therapist in surgery saw that I still had hand function. So what they elected to do was remove a 15-inch by 4-inch flap of skin from my left thigh and place it on my right hand and forearm. And so since this is my thigh on my hand, I call this my thand. Copyright pending. But so this is where my story takes a nod from the when you give a mouse a cookie story. You know, when you solve one problem, another problem happens. Well, sure, my arm was saved, but now I have a gaping hole in my leg. And and you talked about this before. I'm a runner. The week before I had gone into the hospital, I had run a 5K in less than 19 minutes, 29 seconds. And I've been running for more than 10 years as a sport. And I played soccer before then. So I had pretty big thighs. They had to remove one of my quadricep muscles in order to close the wound naturally. And not only did they have to take out my vastus lateralis, that's what the muscle was called, they had to install a shoestring type contraption called a Jacob's ladder on the inside of the wound, and then knobs on the other side, on the outside. On either side of either half of the wound, I have knobs sticking on my leg. So I'm looking like Deadpool on the upper half of my body and Frankenstein's monster on the bottom half. But I'm still alive, so I got that going for me. But now, sure, my leg is fixed and I have an arm still, but now there's this whole issue about the exposed tissue and muscle and sinew on my upper right side. So they start taking a skin graft harvester, or what I like to say, a cheese slicer on steroids, which if you've ever seen a picture of them, that's what it looks like. It looks like a cheese slicer just, joined the Soviet team in the 1980s. It's crazy. And they start raking that up and down my back and my thighs to get skin graft tissue to put on my arm, shoulder, chest, and back. And that all took place in a span of about 5 days. So I finally wake up. I won't go into the hallucinations I was having. That's a whole other episode. But as soon as I wake up, my brother, who flew in from Michigan to be there for me, he's there. He calls Becky. Becky and her dad, Bill, come to the hospital. They talk to me. They get me somewhat sped up on events from the last couple days. I still don't know it's 5 days. I had no idea 5 days had passed until the next day, and I freaked out about it. I thought I was just out for the night. They tell me what's going on, and then I leave, or they leave, and I'm there in a hospital bed. And this is where another type of bacteria was invading me, Tim. All the NF, all the flesh-eating bacteria was gone, but now I was left with personal bacteria. Those invading thoughts that penetrate our mind when we're faced with a life-changing or life-challenging event. They came in the form of questions to which I had no answers. They ranged from what was my body going to be able to do when I fully recovered, if I fully recovered? What was my mindset going to be like? What were my relationships going to be like with Becky, the kids, other family members, my friends, colleagues, so on and so forth? How were we going to survive this financially? Yes, Becky had insurance, but as it turned out, my arm ended up costing us around $1 million.
Wow.
And I had run out of sick days, as it turns out, from my hospitalization. All of those questions with no answers. Luckily, though, Becky told me something that erased all that personal bacteria. During one of her daily visits, she was talking with me, and she started sharing about how people in our various social circles were helping us out. Our neighbors we're shoveling our walkway and snow blowing our driveways and keeping an eye on the house. Mind you, it is late March, early April, but in Minnesota, that's winter round 2.
Mm-hmm.
People were stopping by Bill and Dee's house in Rochester to check up on Becky and the kids, donating toys and clothing to the kids because they had gone to Rochester from New Ulm for 2 or 3 days. They were there for 2 weeks, and they had barely anything of their own. Like I said, my brother Jeff, as soon as Becky told him what I was dealing with in the hospital, he flew from Michigan to Minnesota to the Twin Cities and found a shuttle down to Rochester and spent a week and a half in Rochester, sometimes sleeping overnight, just so he can get the latest information on my condition. One of Becky's high school classmates started a GoFundMe account that raised well over the amount of money lost from my sick leave because I didn't have enough days to cover how much time I missed from school. I ended up missing an entire quarter of the school year, but that GoFundMe account covered that and more. All of these people were stepping up to help us. And when I heard that, as I said before, that personal bacteria washed away. And I was left with what I now call, and you called it before, the attitude of gratitude. And I'll be honest, I didn't call it that at first, but it came in the form of, again, questions. The first question was, what good things do I have in my life? And when I ask that question, Tim, I'm going to ask that of you. What are good things that you have in your life?
Oh, I've got my family for sure. Number one, foremost, is always the best thing in my life. At this point, I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable.
Yeah, and that's yeah. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No. I was just saying I'm comfortable with everything the way it is at this point in my life.
Yeah, and that's what most people say, and that's not a wrong answer. You know, they say the big things: our family, our friends, people who share our faith, our house, our home. And I thought of those as certainly as well. But I thought, what about those seemingly insignificant and small things that we seem to overlook, but actually bring us those daily doses of joy that keep us going throughout the day? And the first thing I thought of was the show Daredevil on Netflix. See, when Jeff was here, he had bought me an iPad. And one of the first things I downloaded was Netflix. And the show Daredevil had just dropped. The first season had just dropped on Netflix while I was in the hospital. And so I binge watched that show. I don't know how many times. Have you watched that show, Tim?
Absolutely. I'm a huge Marvel DC fan. Huge.
Yeah. And so I absolutely adore that show. Not only is it fantastic on its own merits, but I just have it holds a special place in my heart because of how it helped me through my hospitalization. And then I think about the fact that the sun never shined in my eyes while I was in the hospital, bedridden. And I know that sounds really random, but for those of us who have been bedridden for a while and have virtually no control over our environment, not having to ask someone for one more thing is actually refreshing. And then there's the hospital pizza. And I know many people have various opinions about hospital pizza, but I have to tell you, if they have a negative opinion of hospital pizza, they did not have the pizza I had. It was phenomenal. That said, it could be because I hadn't had pizza in a month. Who knows?
True.
But it was still great. I still think of it very positively. And even today, I still do this. I think of my beat up mouse that's held together by duct tape. All right. It's been banged up. It's held together by foreign objects, kind of like me. But, it still works pretty well. I think about door hinges. No one thinks about door hinges. But when you have to get into a certain room and do a certain task, and those door hinges are keeping you from doing that, you start thinking about door hinges really quickly. But then when you get that door fixed, you're thankful that you have a door hinge that works. I think of door hinges all the time. And then I think about my right armpit. Tim, I told you my right armpit is covered in skin grafts, right?
Yes, I'm fixing to show some pictures here.
Yeah, look at that right there. Yeah, my right armpit is covered in skin grafts. For those who don't know, skin grafts are non-porous, which means they don't sweat, which means I only have to use deodorant at one half of my body. I can make a stick of deodorant last for 6 months. Now, while I'm not swimming in a money bin of cash that's of deodorant savings, it's still something I kind of pride myself in and say, hey, you know what? I can make this last a lot longer than normal people, and kind of get a joke out of it. And the ability to see the value in things in our lives that we already have, even things we don't normally use, is what has really increased my gratitude, Tim. Because knowing that if I ever need a knife, to put peanut butter on my pancakes, I love peanut butter on pancakes, I have that. If I need pins for my racing bibs when I go running, I got them. I'm thankful for them now before I need them. And the more we can be thankful for the things we already have before we need them, only increases our gratitude for when we do have those things and we need them. And so that was the first step. That was thinking of all the good things in my life. And the more minute, the more innocuous even you can think of some, that the thing can be that you can be thankful for, the more you're going to find that you are richer than you thought possible.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I agree with that 100%.
Thank you. And so that's the first step, is thinking of all the good things in your life. And then I thought of the good things in my life, but then I thought about the people that I appreciated in my life. And of course, when we ask ourselves that question, who do I appreciate? You think of family, friends, people who share our faith, our neighbors, our coworkers. And yes, I had that. I had all those areas covered. But I had a couple other people that I was especially thankful for in the hospital. First of which was Dave White and his wife, Beth, who are college friends of mine. In fact, Dave was and is my best friend from college. He and Beth flew in from Montana for a weekend to come see me. And in fact, they even kidnapped me for a night on the town. We went to a restaurant to have dinner, and there was this awesome picture of him pushing me in a wheelchair. And at this time, I looked like Walter White from Breaking Bad, escaping from the hospital. And there are two nurses behind us chasing us. But they play the part beautifully. They're looking all angry and reaching out for us. It's a fantastic picture. And so I will always be in debt to Dave and Beth for coming out and visiting me when they didn't have to. They could have sent a card or given me a call. But then those nurses were also fantastic. Yes, I'm at the Mayo Clinic. It's world-renowned. The nurses are top-notch. But not only did they treat me professionally, they also cared for me personally. We actually became friends. And I have this one story I love to tell. When you are in the hospital for a long time, people sometimes put up a poster in your hospital room that's called the Getting to Know You poster. And they ask you various questions so people can, spoiler alert, get to know you. One of the questions on my poster was favorite movie. Now, Tim, you see behind me, I have Ninja Turtles and Deadpool. I have me and Weird Al up here. We talked about Monty Python, and you know I love my superheroes. So you could probably guess what my favorite movie is.
I would say between Daredevil and Logan.
Close. Blazing Saddles.
That's a classic.
So, because I was thinking, what's a movie I would watch over and over again and not get sick of? And so I asked them to put that on there. One Monday morning, the head nurse, Chris, practically runs into my room. She's excited for some reason. And she says, Chris, I was at a garage sale this weekend and I saw this and it reminded me of you. And here it is. She bought me a DVD copy of Blazing Saddles at a garage sale. I am nothing more than a part of her job. I am a mark, an item on her to-do list. But the fact that she not only recognized that that was my favorite movie, but she also bought it for me and gave it to me, makes that individual copy one of my prized possessions. Not only because of the market value, but also because of the love and friendship it was given. And so I truly love and appreciate the nurses who helped me in my situation, because they not only helped me recover physically, but they also helped keep things light. I felt I made some friends. In fact, I try to visit them as often as I can. I know COVID has put a wrench in that, but I actually have a picture of me and a couple of my nursing friends from March 2020, right before everything shut down. I had run from Bill and Dee's house to the hospital to visit them and to see how they're doing and to share my appreciation for them for what they continually have done for me. And so that's the A, that is, acknowledging the appreciated. And I think the more we do that with people, even if it's something very small and seemingly easily missable, like if someone, gives you a piece of gum, or if like your loved one, takes the vehicle that you don't like, and you get to take the vehicle that you get to like out of the house, or someone just happens to give you just a free tip on something. Hey, you know what? There's cheaper gas at this gas station. Let them know that you appreciate them for that, because among other things, they'll probably do it again if you know that you liked it. So I thought of the things in my life that I appreciated. Then I thought of the people whom I appreciated. Then I thought about how can I give others a reason to be grateful. And in the hospital, I couldn't do a lot. There wasn't much I could do. But it's when I was discharged, that I started taking action. I started running again. And as I would run, I would pick up garbage on the sidewalk or on the road or in someone's yard without getting too trespassy. And I would serve my neighborhood that way. And there's a picture of me from the Runner's World in January 22. I would also mow the lawns of my neighbors if I noticed they were getting long, or snowblow their driveway or shovel their walkways. And then there's the classic opening doors for people. And I know that act becomes cliche, but if you think about it in this context, Tim, and especially in our world, as we're still going through the pandemic, at any given point, someone is having the worst day of their life. We never know who's having a horrible day. But if we can show them, even for a second, a moment, that we're going to stop what we're doing and help them, that might make their day a bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And what is society if we can't help other people be better, or help them feel better, or give them assistance when they need it?
Mm-hmm.
And all of those examples I gave were ways that didn't cost me any money. but to the recipient, they could be priceless.
Exactly. I agree 100%. That's why on the close, I guess everybody's realized on the close of all my episodes, I tell everybody to be kind and remember to smile because it doesn't cost anything to be kind. And how many times do you smile at somebody that don't smile back? That can make someone's day.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention the endorphins that a smile does release.
Oh, yes. Yes, indeed.
So I agree with you 100% on the attitude of gratitude, both. For sure.
Thank you. Yeah, and people ask, well, how has it helped me? Well, yes, I have recovered. I'm out of the hospital, obviously, but with that increased positivity and gratitude, I've also I've discovered that my resilience skyrocketed. I know that, well, if I could survive this, what else could I endure? What else can I handle? And so I started teaching again, obviously, and I went back and got another teaching license. I started running again. And long story short, I've set or tied 4 lifetime personal running records, and I'm now training to qualify for the Boston Marathon before 2030.
Awesome.
Yep. And I also work out regularly. I also joined Taekwondo with my older son. And as of January of 2022, I received my first degree black belt in Taekwondo. There you go. Thank you for sharing that. I've also, and I've said this before. Thank you, Tim. I appreciate that. I've also become a professional speaker, and I'm sharing tag with high school students, with college students. I even shared last month with my first elementary assembly, and that was awesome. Yeah, I had some 5th graders even tell me how I should wear the cape. And as the Doctor Strange movie was coming up soon, they decided I should wear it like Doctor Strange, have the collar up.
Absolutely.
And so, go ahead.
I was just going to ask you about your what's your favorite dinosaur campaign to go along with your tag.
Okay, so and I also became a podcast host because when I decided to become a speaker, that was right around where COVID hit. So I figured, well, I need to keep practicing, even if there are no venues. I need to hone my skills. So I started my own podcast. And as I was flipping through Facebook one day, I saw this post, and someone was lamenting that no one ever asked them what their favorite dinosaur is anymore. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to be that guy. So I started asking my very first guest what their favorite dinosaur was. And that's kept going. And every interview, that's the question I finish with, because I love surprising people with it, and I love hearing their answers. It becomes a bit of a litmus test for some people, because you sometimes really get a little view into their psyche by the dinosaur they pick, and it just makes for a fun shirt. So that's available on my merch store, which is also available through my website. And I'm going to be creating some other merch for it as well. I have a sweatshirt, try to make like a phone case too. But yeah, I really love that question because it's deeper than people realize. Because the one you pick, it can be just a glimpse into your upbringing or into how you approach the world. Some people pick T-Rex because they're go-getters and they're the best and they like to be the best. People pick Brontosaurus because they're gentle giants. I know, Tim, you like the Brontosaurus. I personally am an Ankylosaurus. He's the guy with the club tail and he's got the armor all around. Yeah, he's the mess around and find out kind of dinosaur. So,
everyone, Chris's shop is linked to the shop is at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, thanks. And you can also access it through chrisdtgordon.com. On top, on the ticker on the top of the webpage I have links to different various areas of the website, and the store is one of them.
And also, you can contact Chris or book him for speaking engagements through his website as well, which is at the bottom of the screen now.
Yes, and even if you just want to chat and say hi, I definitely love hearing from people. My Instagram is also at Chris DT Gordon. Good timing there, Tim. So you can reach me out there. In fact, if you just Google Chris DT Gordon, you're going to find something that I've done. And I found that because adding that DT has really made it easier for people to find me. Because believe it or not, there are more than a few Chris Gordons in the world.
I can't imagine that.
But there's only one with DT as her initials, at least that I know of.
Well, I can say right before the show, I was Googling, doing a little more research, and I did Google Chris DT Gordon. You're right. You come right at the top of Google search. Like the first 3 or 4 links are about you. So Chris is not a hard person to reach.
Nope.
You can also reach out to the show if you need to. Also, his YouTube channel is at the bottom of the screen, which I think you can find that link also through his website at chrisdtgordon.com.
Yes, sir.
So, how is the family now after all your experience and everything?
They are doing well. My older son, he struggled a bit because I was gone. He was old enough to somewhat comprehend what was going on, but he's successfully made it through that trauma. And it's weird because in some ways I'm a little bit of a celebrity because people have heard of my story and they ask questions, and then my kids, they'll say something and about me, and they're someone who hasn't heard, like, what? No, yeah, seriously, he doesn't have skin on the right side of his body. Like, what? And then we have to go through the story again. But it is interesting. It's not like I'm signing autographs, but it's a way. I see it as a blessing because I believe we're on this earth to help others. And if I can use my story and my message to help others in their struggles, then I've served my purpose.
And you always have a way of implementing your scars to spread awareness. Here's a few photos.
Yeah. That's Dave. Dave is dressed as Dr. McNinja, which is a somewhat obscure internet character. And I'm actually handing a mannequin hand to Mark Hamill. I'm giving him back the hand he lost at the end of Empire Strikes Back in Cloud City.
Exactly. I'm a Star Wars and Star Trek fan both.
Yeah.
Here's another one.
Yep, that was at that same convention. Me seeing what's stronger, adamantium or a lightsaber.
I'd probably say the claws. I can't say that word. Sorry.
Adamantium. Yeah, depends on how long they're being exposed to the lightsaber. Yep, and there's a running picture from a local July 4th race.
And Chris is very active in these 5Ks. If you all don't know, he runs in a lot of these events. A lot.
Yeah, and I like occasionally wearing tutus because it's fun to pass people in the tutu, and that way I can do the red, white, and blue for July 4th.
Exactly. Also, you can find Chris's podcast on Spotify, also on Apple and many other platforms. Just search for Scar Bearers and it comes up right at the beginning also.
Yep, and I've been very blessed to have many fellow NF survivors on there. Tim, you got to be on there sometime.
Tell me when. Just tell me when.
But today I released my latest episode featuring an Olympian, one of the most decorated. Her name is Carrie Tollefson. And if you ever watched coverage of running events like the Boston Marathon or the New York Marathon, she's there. She is tall, blonde. She's a very striking presence, but she's one of the coolest people ever. And she and I have a really fun chat. She talks about I don't want to spoil the story, but she talks about a revelation that she had while at the Olympics. And so it is a fun story for her to share.
I'll definitely check that out after we get done on this.
Yeah.
Everybody, Chris is very entertaining with his podcast. You're missing out if you don't check it out. You're missing out.
Well, thank you.
I can tell you that out of personal experience. Well, Chris, I appreciate you being here and sharing your experience, your family, your podcast.
Well, Tim, I greatly appreciate the opportunity to share my story, and I appreciate you creating this platform for others to share their stories as well. And I do have one more a little tidbit I want to throw out there.
Absolutely. Anything.
Pass on perfection and go for greatness. Perfection is a mirage. It's an illusion. It does not actually exist for long term. Yes, you might occasionally get a 300 in the bowling, or you might pitch a perfect game, but those are at best fleeting. You look at the pictures on the billboards. How long did it take that model to get all dolled up? And did she really stay that dolled up after that picture is shot? People who pursue perfection on a long-term basis are chasing a ghost. Instead, go for greatness. Be consistent in your efforts. Be diligent in your pursuit of your goal, and be perseverant through the good times and the bad times. Because if you do that, you might occasionally reach perfection, but you will always be great.
That's great advice. Wonderful advice. I hope everybody heeds that advice because it's very true. Well, Chris, thank you very much for being here. I'll chat with you backstage here in a few moments.
Sounds great, sir. Thank you again very much, and you have a great day.
You too. I want to thank Chris Gordon for being here today and telling his story. Again, if you want to reach out to Chris and contact him through his website at chrisdtgordon.com. Please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I hope to see you next time for another episode of The Steep. Remember to be kind and to smile.